What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Precious Robot here. Today I'm going to show you how you could turn your world or server into a zombie apocalypse using command blocks. Now this is relatively easy to do. It only utilizes 5 command blocks and it'll make it to where zombies will affect other entities when they touch them. And this creates hordes and hordes of zombies, and it's pretty cool to watch, as you can see here. I do want to warn you that be really careful when doing this. I would test this out in a world that you don't necessarily need or you have a backup of, because while doing this, I accidentally bricked 2 of my worlds doing it. Luckily I didn't lose anything, I have backups for them, but you definitely can ruin your server by doing this if you do it wrong. So be careful. All of the commands themselves will be in the description below. Also, be sure you're doing this at your world spawn, that way it'll affect the entire server. If you do this at just a random chunk, it'll only affect that chunk. Alright, so if you don't already know, this is how to give yourself a command block. Once you have the command block, we can really begin. Alright, so let's place our first command block. Alright, and we'll go into here. Alright, so once you're in here, you're going to want to do execute as @e type equals zombie at itself if entity @e. Okay, so what this is so far is pretty much it's going to execute this command at the zombie if any entity that we define right here gets close to it. So what we're going to define right here is what it's checking for when it gets close to the zombie. So the first thing we're going to want to filter out is players. We don't want it turning players into zombies. So we do that by adding this exclamation point right here. What that does is it says it's going to check for everything that's not a player, and then we'll just kind of continue on this pattern. So we'll do type equals not a zombie because it's pointless at this point. Type equals not, I typically do experience orb, just because when a zombie dies, they're experience orbs and you don't want those to be turned into zombies. Type equals not an arrow, because you don't want arrows to be turned into zombies while you're shooting it. That would be crazy. And then the last one that you need is type item, and this just makes sure that there's any other items that get turned into zombies near it. Those are really the only ones you need. You can add pretty much anything else you want here that you don't want it to affect. I typically add a bat, and I'll typically also add drowned. On my hardcore zombie apocalypse survival map, I actually have creepers not affected as well. This just kind of adds a little bit of a challenge and makes things a little bit harder, but you can kind of do whatever you really want here. As long as you have the experience orb, arrow, item, player, and zombie, that's pretty much all you really need. And then this last part here is also very important. This is going to be distance. So this is the distance to the zombie. So I always do 2. 2 is a pretty good number I found. You can play with this, make it less, make it more. The 2 dots are also important because you want to make sure it's within that area. And then, so once it checks for something that's within its distance, what we're going to do is we're going to want to tag it. So we're going to say run tag @e. And then, so now we're just going to pretty much type in the exact same thing we typed in last time. I already have this pasted into my clipboard, so I'm just going to paste it in. But yeah, you would just type the same exact thing out, and then once you have that, we will say add zombie, and then this will be repeat, this will be unconditional, and this will be always active. I normally always just keep this on needs redstone until I'm done, because I don't really need this going off while I'm working on the other thing. I'll add this at the very end. This should be always active, but for right now I'm just going to say needs redstone. And so just to recap, what this thing does is it will tag anything that gets close to a zombie with the tag zombie. That's pretty much all it does, except for the things we defined. So it won't detect a player or another zombie or a bat or drowned or any of that stuff. Yeah. Okay, so now the next part we're going to do is we're going to add on the part where it actually summons a new zombie. It's important to summon a new zombie before you get rid of the old one. So just make sure you're doing this in order. And then we'll go in here. Okay, and we'll say execute if entity add e tag equals zombie. So it's looking for any entity that has the tag zombie that we added in the previous command block. We're going to run execute at, so we want it to execute at the location of the entity that has the zombie tag. And then we'll do run summon zombie, and then it's important to use these tilde things here because that's gonna summon a zombie right at the same place of the other entity that has the zombie tag. Okay, so like I said, this will completely work. This is just gonna summon regular zombies. If you want something a little more buff, so what I'll normally do is I'll go on an external website like MC Stacker or DigMinecraft. I like to use DigMinecraft for summoning mobs because the user interface is just a little bit easier. I will post a link in the comments below, but once you go to digminecraft.com, you can go to command generators, summon mob generator, and then zombie. You can add teams. I use teams for my hardcore map, but you don't have to for this application. Age adult. I typically uncheck this persistence here. You can feel free to add it if you want, but what this does is it makes it to where the zombies don't despawn, which could be a good thing, but you'll find that as they're turning other mobs and stuff into zombies, it adds up really quickly. When I was testing this out, I was getting upwards of 1,000 entities in a chunk at any given moment, and that was within not that long of a time. So I suggest you keep this unchecked, but totally up to you. I normally also do CanBreakDoors because I just think it's something zombies can do, and CanPickUpLoot. This CanPickUpLoot can also act as like a persistence if they pick something up, so that's always kind of good. Alright, and so what I'll do to keep them from dying in the sun is I'll just give them head armor that's zombie head armor. So you can't really even tell that they're wearing it, but because they are technically wearing something on their head, they won't die in the sun or catch on fire. Drop, nope, you don't want it to drop. Position relative, you don't really need to mess with any of this stuff. You can also add effects to the mob. I like to do jump boost and speed just to kind of make it a little more challenging. You definitely don't have to do this if you don't want to. I do not want to show particles. And then, yeah, generate command. So you really don't need this first part right here. You can really just grab just from there. And that's because this is already in our command block. So let's go back to Minecraft. All right, and so what we'll do is we'll just paste that into here. You might have to go back and make sure you space it, but yeah. And then so on this one, you want it to be chain, conditional. Be sure that you change this to conditional and always active. Chain, conditional, always active. All right. All right, and to recap what this one does is this one takes everything that has that zombie tag that we applied in the last command block, and it summons a zombie in that spot. And the next one, we're going to get rid of that mob. Yeah, well, let's go here, and we'll go in here, and we'll say execute if entity at e tag equals zombie. So execute if any entity has the tag zombie, run TP at e tag equals zombie to 0 minus 80 0. And so what we're doing with this one is we're getting rid of the mob that it came into contact with. And this kind of gives it the impression that it has changed, although really it's just we removed one mob and summoned a new mob in its place. And the reason we're going to teleport it instead of killing it is because if I use the kill command, it's going to drop loot, and I don't really want it to drop loot. I want to TP it to this area because this is below the map. These zeros right here, if this is in your world spawn, you can also use these tildes here. As long as the middle one is minus 80, it should work. And really, you could probably use any coordinate below minus 65, 70. I like to do minus 80 just because, I don't know, just because. And then chain, conditional, always active. And then yeah. And then so that's pretty much all it is. I'm gonna also add one more command here. And this next command kind of just makes sure that you don't have any issues with stuff spawning down there. Like sometimes this could create like an infinite loop if you're not careful, and it'll start spawning stuff like over and over and over and could potentially crash your server. I've only experienced it twice, and it was really on accident that it happened, but it is a possibility. So I always kind of add this as a backup just to make sure nothing really goes wrong. And so the void itself will kill anything that gets teleported down there, but it doesn't always do it right away. It takes some time, and that time frame that it's still alive sometimes can affect the command blocks. So I just add this as kind of just like a kill switch to kill anything that gets teleported down there. So what we're going to do is we're going to say execute if entity at e x equals 0. And like I said, this will correspond to wherever your world spawn is. If your world spawn's not at 0, 0, it's somewhere else. Your x will be wherever world spawn is. Y is equal to minus 80. Z is equal to 0. And I'm also going to add distance of 10. And it's going to do run kill at e. X equals 0, y equals minus 80, z equals 0. Distance of up to 10. So, like I said, this is kind of just like a kill switch for any entities that get teleported down there. So any entity that's in that area within a distance of 10, it'll kill that. All right, and then the final thing we need to do is pretty much just set this to always active. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're ready to go. So yeah, we'll test it out with this guy. So as you see, he turned into a zombie, and he's living in the daylight, and he will try to find other villagers. So let's give them a few things to chase after here. Pretty much it. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask. If you have anything you'd like to learn command block wise for the new updates, let me know. If I don't know, I can kind of figure it out. So yeah, let me know. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps me out. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.